This is Bandage Banter, and guess what? We are on episode 6. I'm not going to have enough fingers here soon enough. I'm Sam. I've been in healthcare long enough to love it deeply and to question it honestly. This is a space where we talk openly about healthcare, the parts we rush past, the parts we normalize, and the parts that we also just don't say out loud. I'm really glad that you're here, so let's hop on into it. Today, I want to talk about something that might seem really random at first, so please just stick with me. I promise it explains modern healthcare better than most leadership meetings ever will. And I'm going to be relating it to the movie Sully. You know, the movie with Tom Hanks, the plane on the Hudson River, and what happened after. Because if you've seen it, you probably already know where I'm going with this. But if you haven't seen it, major spoil alerts ahead. Okay? He lands the plane. The people, they live. And instead of the system going and saying, thank God you made that call, the system says, well, did you really have to? Could you have done it faster? Could you have done it cleaner? Could you have met my preferred outcome? And that right there is the whole point of what I want to talk to you about today. Because healthcare does the exact same thing. We survive the shift. The patient survives. The tasks that they wanted us to complete get completed. And the system reads that as proof that the design was fine because all those things were met. Not as proof that you were making impossible decisions under pressure. And that's the part with Sully where most people miss. I mean, truly, here's the part of the story that matters to me. That matters. The investigators ran simulations. And in the simulations, they made it back. They landed safely. They showed on paper that Sully had options. But there was one tiny detail that they had not included. Those simulations did not include the human factor. They didn't include the time it takes for a brain to recognize a crisis. And that's my favorite part of the movie because they don't give you time to assess it, to choose, to commit, to execute. In other words, the simulations measured the aircraft. They measured the moment of the obstacles that they knew they were going to have to overcome. They knew the birds were going to hit the plane. Not the cognition behind it, not exactly what was he thinking. And that's exactly what metrics do in healthcare. Healthcare is full of Sully moments. Full of moments where the patient is alive because a human made a judgment call. Not because the workflow was perfect. Not because the staffing model was ideal. Not because the metrics were aligned. Because a nurse noticed something early. Because an RT caught a change in breathing. Because a tech spoke up. Because a unit clerk tracked down an order. Or clarified a handwritten order. Because a provider made a decision in a split second. Because someone used their brain, their judgment, their experience, their pattern recognition, their nervous system. And then later, when everything is stable again, the system rewrites the story. And it turns your judgment into a number. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. When metrics replaced judgment. Let me put you into the situation. I love these kind of things. Let's say it's 7:43. You are not behind yet, but you are already kind of juggling the day. You've got meds due. You've got a patient who you're just like, my nursey senses something's not right. You got a family member asking for updates. You've got case management messaging you, an admit in the pipeline waiting for your current discharge. and your phone is just steady ringing. And you're doing what every healthcare worker does. You are flying that plane. You are not panicking. You are truly calculating. You're choosing what is going to get your attention first and right now. And you're doing it while being interrupted every 30 seconds, if we're granted that. So here's the question: where does that metric show up? I'm glad we took a long pause there because it doesn't. Metrics measure the things that are easiest to see. Did the medication scan on time? Did the chart close with all the needed documentation? Did that patient get discharged within the proper time frame? Did the call out get answered? And if so, how long did it take? Did the patient move through the system? Did the provider respond in the expected window? Did the throughput keep flowing? Metrics are not built to measure how close to the edge you were operating, how many decisions you were making at once, how many interruptions you absorbed, how much risk you held in your head, how many times you prevented a problem that never became visible. Metrics measure output, mainly to navigate failures. They don't navigate that strain. So let's fast forward. It's 10:06. You're about to scan a medication, and right as you're about to, you get interrupted. Say someone is asking you a question, the patient says something, the family member's speaking up, and then your phone rings, and the patient's still talking to you, where you're like, "Oh, let me just get this real quick. I'm so sorry." In the middle of all that, you hear a bed alarm 2 doors go off. You hear a bed alarm go off 2 doors down. You pivot. You go check on that patient, get them back in bed. You're good. You finish your phone call. You're back in front of your patient. You answer their questions and stabilize the situation. And then you come back and you're like, for a half a second, your brain does something that's completely normal. It hesitates. It's like, oh, did I scan that? Did I already pull it? Did I already give it? It's like you go through this whole process in your head, and that moment of hesitation is not being sloppy by any means. I know so many people who think, oh, you just got to keep moving and just pushing forward. But that moment is you in human cognition resuming a task after interruption. And if anyone knows anything of healthcare, it is 12 hours or however long your shift is of just constant interruptions. And the more compressed that shift gets, the more dangerous it becomes because of those things. Because there's no margin, there's no time to press pause, no time to reorient yourself, no buffer. You just simply go. This is what human factors is. Human factors is the science of what happens when you put real humans inside real systems. Humans have limits. Humans have working memory limits. Humans have attention limits. Humans slow down under interruption. Humans become less accurate under time pressure. Humans become reactive when overloaded. Those are not personality issues. That is simply biology. And healthcare is designed like those limits do not exist. The part of Sully that hits me the hardest is, I guess, here's why Sully is such a perfect metaphor. Because after the plane landed, people acted like the correct decision should have been obvious. They judged him from the outside, from the calm, from the after, from the data. But he made the decision inside the moment. Inside uncertainty, inside time pressure, inside risk, inside limited foundation, inside a body that was having a stress response. And that is healthcare, guys. Every day, of every minute, of every second. So let's fast forward more into your day. It is now 2:20. Shift is technically going fine, no disasters, no codes. no emergencies, but you're wrung out anyway. Not because you were lifting all morning, but because you're just constantly thinking, tracking, anticipating, recalculating, like on your maps in the car, rerouting, holding risk in your hand. We've talked about this before. And this is the part the system never sees. It's a metric that is not measured because the system does not measure cognition. It measures completion or incompletion. So when you leave exhausted, the system does not interrupt that as a design issue. It says, oh, you're burned out. Here you go. Here's your label. But at the same time, here's your EAP so you can reach out to somebody to talk about it because we don't do resources in-house. When the system misreads survival, here's the dangerous loop. Most of the time, nothing goes wrong. The patient lives, the charts close, the discharges happen, and the shift ends. And because the outcome is acceptable, the system assumes conditions were acceptable. Like they turned a blind eye to it. But this is the same logic as, well, you landed the plane, so why are you acting like it was that hard? But the only reason the plane landed is because a human compensated for the design limits. The only reason the shift worked is because you compensated. You were the buffer. You took that invisible compensation and you do it until it's no longer invisible to you. Now, here's where it gets darker. Because in healthcare, when you survive the fire, the system doesn't reward you with more margin. It rewards itself with higher expectations. And in the recent episode, The Pit, he says this perfectly. You and your AI is going to trim all this stuff down so I can see and do more. The system doesn't reward you with more margin. It rewards itself with higher expectations. You will get faster, you get sharper, you develop shortcuts that still get the job done. You learn how to compress more. You learn how to multitask. You learn how to carry that weight. And then the system watches you do it. And it learns. And then it raises the bar. Not by telling you, by scheduling tighter, by assigning more, by increasing turnover, by eliminating slack. And then the new normal becomes, this is just how it is. The healthcare system is still going to compress the time that you have. It's not going to be, I can spend more time with patients now, the patients that I was taking care of. It's going to be, you're going to see 10 more patients now because you have this efficiency metric now. It's like you're trauma bonded with the fire. This is why healthcare workers become trauma bonded, not just to each other, to the fire. Because the fire becomes proof. Proof that you survived, so you must be capable. And if you can survive it, then it must be sustainable. And if it's sustainable, then anyone who can't do it must be weak. And that's how the system turns human limits into personal failures. When I say metrics replace judgment, I mean this. Healthcare stopped trusting clinicians to define what safe care requires. It started pushing trusting numbers to define what good care looks like. It started rewarding speed, punishing slowing down, and treating human cognition like an unlimited resource. Like you are a simulation. Like you're a machine. Like you're supposed to make perfect decisions instantly every second of every single day. And that is just not how humans work. This is one of the core ideas behind my book, Nurses Aren't Burnout, Nurses Are Exploited. Because exploitation isn't always someone yelling at you. Sometimes exploitation is a system that quietly relies on your cognition, your memory, your vigilance, your moral drive, and your willingness to carry the risk. A system that uses your judgment to keep people alive and then turns around and evaluates you by numbers that can't even see the work that you did. Burnout explain how that feels. Metrics explains how it happens. Is it all coming together now like a big nice little circle? I sure hope so, because otherwise I'm just speaking into the void. My point is, healthcare is full of Sully moments and moments where human makes the call inside pressure, uncertainty, and limited time. And then later, the system judges the call from the outside using numbers. Metrics do not measure cognition, they measure completion. And when completion becomes the standard, judgment becomes something that has to be squeezed in. And that is not your failure. That is by design. These are the kind of conversations I plan to keep having here. And I really value hearing what resonates or what you've personally lived through. Next week, we are going to be talking about the word that makes all of this acceptable: efficiency. Because efficiency is not a neutral word in healthcare. Because once you see what efficiency actually demands, you stop blaming yourself for not being able to keep up. Thanks for spending time with me. I hope this helped you notice something you've been carrying and realize it wasn't just you. Thanks for tuning in to Bandage Banter. I really enjoyed our time together, and I hope it felt like time well spent. Be gentle with yourself. I hope you have a lovely week. Mwah! Toodles!